We're going to start our review on rock cycle. What is a rock cycle? It is simply a model that illustrates the origin of the three basic rock types and the interrelatedness of Earth's materials and processes. It is the continuous processes that cause rocks to change. There are three kinds of rocks. First is igneous rock. What is an igneous rock? These are rocks that form from cooled and hardened magma beneath the surface or as a result of volcanic eruption. Let's go over the difference between magma and lava. Magma is simply the molten rock beneath the earth, while lava is the magma that reaches Earth's surface. There are two types of igneous rocks. You have intrusive and extrusive types. When we say extrusive igneous rock, those are rocks that has formed on Earth's surface. Intrusive igneous rock that formed below the Earth's surface. The second type of rock that I want to go over is metamorphic rock. It is a rock formed by the alteration of pre-existing rock deep within Earth by heat, pressure, and or chemically active fluids. The process involved in transforming igneous or sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock is the so-called metamorphism. Metamorphism is the changes in mineral composition and texture of a rock subjected to high temperature and pressure within Earth. There are two types of metamorphic rocks. First, we have the so-called foliated metamorphic rock. It is a metamorphic rock with a texture that gives the rock a layered or banded appearance. When we say non-foliated metamorphic rock, these are metamorphic rocks that does not or do not exhibit a banded or layered appearance. The third type of rock is the sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock is a rock formed from the weathered products of pre-existing rocks that have been transported, deposited, compacted, and cemented. What are sediments? Sediments are simply loose particles created by the weathering and erosion of rock by chemical precipitation from solution in water or from the secretions of organisms and transported by water, wind, or glaciers. The processes involved in transforming igneous rock to sedimentary rock or metamorphic rock to igneous rocks when they become loose particles are compaction, cementation, weathering, and erosion. We are going to discuss one of each of those processes. So, the first one is compaction. Compaction is the solidification of sediments by the deposition of dissolved minerals in the tiny spaces between the sedimentary particles. Cementation is the process in which sediments are glued together by minerals that are deposited by water. Weathering is the disintegration and decomposition of rock at or near Earth's surface, while erosion is the incorporation and transportation of material by a mobile agent such as water, wind, or ice. Now let's go deeper into weathering. Generally, we define weathering as the breaking down of rocks into small particles such as sand and pebbles. There are two types of weathering: physical and chemical weathering. When we say physical weathering, it's the breaking down of rocks without changing the chemical composition of the rock, while chemical weathering is the breaking down of rocks where it changes the chemical composition of the rock. So there's a transformation of rock into one or more new compounds. Examples of Physical weatherings are unloading. Unloading happens when large masses of igneous rocks is exposed through uplift and erosion of overlying rocks. Exfoliation, we commonly call this flaking, is due to expansion, okay, with high temperature, and contraction in low temperature. So slabs of outer layers of the rock break loose. Chemical weathering is the breaking down of rocks, where it changes the chemical composition of the rock. There's a transformation of rock into one or more new compounds. Water is the most important agent of chemical weathering. Acid rain and acids from decaying plants such as lichens accelerates chemical weathering, such as those in stone monuments and structures. Spheroidal weathering is a type of chemical weathering that changes the physical shape of rock as well as its chemical composition. Weathering doesn't happen at the same time. So we have to understand the factors that affect the rates of weathering. First is the rock characteristics. Physical characteristics of rocks, such as cracks, are important in weathering because they influence the ability of water to penetrate. Example: gravestones, granite versus marble. Marble undergo more rapid chemical weathering than granite. The second factor is climate. Temperature and moisture have a strong effect on the rate of weathering. Regions with high temperature and abundant moisture have higher rate of chemical weathering than in arid, little or no rain and polar regions. What is differential weathering? Differential weathering is simply the process where different parts of rock mass often weather at different rates. So this is caused by differences in mineral composition, variations in the number and spacing or cracks in different parts of rock mass. What is erosion? Erosion is the process of carrying away the small rock particles such as sand and pebbles. And what are the main agents of erosion? The main agents of erosion are water, such as in rivers, ocean waves, and glaciers, wind, gravity, animals, and machinery. This is the result of our jam on rock cycle weathering and erosion. I'll be pausing for you so you can go over and review. Igneous rocks. Sedimentary rocks. Metamorphic rock. And the geological processes involved in the formation of those rocks. These are the answers to the practice questions. I'm going to pause so you can read and review on your own. Next, and the last but not the least, for number 10, the answer is letter B. And here's a copy of weathering and erosion answers.